it seems that all of you have been shying away, if I understand right, from some of the latest development that is going on in the world. Mr. Furukawa, one thing is China-US trade war. Of course, it's already reaching quite a climax. Currency issue has already been brought up. As you may know, this is really what Japan experienced back in the 1970s when you were having a trade war with the United States, and that is already quite a stage at that moment when currency issue being brought up. That's one thing. The other thing is, what is Japan having in mind about its role regionally and internationally, particularly on the map where China exists as well? So what is that likely to be, strategically speaking, for Japan? Meanwhile, what about some of the current issues regarding Japan, South Korea, Japan, China, South Korea free trade, regarding Japan-US so-called allied relationship, particularly regarding the reinstallment of the so-called missiles coming from the US, which China absolutely 200% against in the region, and also, meanwhile, the International Economic and Trade Order, WTO, CPTPP, Belt and Road. These are all very important strategic issues. Now, Mr. Furukawa, here's the question. It's a very well-defined question I would ask to you. Will Japan try to take advantage of this timing when China and the US are having difficulties with one another for its advantage? Or will Japan take advantage of this timing to be a stable player in the region and in a bigger international context even? What do you think will be the strategic choice the Abe administration and the Japanese society as a whole likely to take on? Mr. Furukawa.
Yes, the sad reality is...
Let me go to Mr. Kato. Now, is it possible that Japan is not to, at least the Chinese gets the perspective, not to have this division of so-called tasks when it comes to different players in the world, that with US is about security, with China is about trade. There is a risk, according to the Chinese guys, that I read between the lines, which is you might not be able to achieve any of these because these are intertwined with one another. Mr. Kato, briefly from you also.
Yes, Japan now, we have to learn to work with China and the United States at the same time. Now, I think, you guys discussed, the global order. I think this is basically, it means the existing order. But now we need to arrange and improve and try to maintain through our collective efforts. So this is now what Japan is trying to do. So now maybe that President Trump is reluctant to maintain this order. So now Japan is trying to compensate it and work with China.